Welcome to self-discoverywisdom.com, formerly known as Self-Discovery Media. On these podcasts, you're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Ignite Your Heart and Soul right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy. My wonderful repeat guest is Karen Michalson. Last time we were talking about the soul and the spirit and the beautiful book that she's done, MAENAD'S God, which she has just been awarded as a finalist in the Independent Author Network, the Book of the Year Awards. Congratulations. That is absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I will talk a bit about the book, but I do invite you to go back and listen to the show we did before, because we dive deep into what the book was all about, and we dive deep into actually what spirituality is about. But we decided the conversation had to still keep going. We're going today to speak on the law. We're going to speak on the madness, the alienation, music, creativity, divinity, and other interesting matters, and how to ignite that creative spirit amongst the chaos. It can be very, very hard to be in that beautiful spirit of peace and love when there is so much hate and turmoil around us. How do we bring it forth? How do we live in that beautiful vibration? And how do we keep it going through this festive season into the new year, no matter what else is happening? Because after all, that beautiful equilibrium of that wonderful loving spirit is what sheds light not only from us, on us, but all around us, and becomes that solution that we're looking for. So we've got a lot here to talk about. So why don't we dive right back in? Welcome back, Karen.
Thank you for having me back, Sarah. And I love what you just said about equilibrium and that beautiful spirit. Um, I think we do find it within ourselves. And if people start to manifest it within themselves, other people will start to manifest it, and a chain reaction takes place. So I think what you said summarized better than I ever could.
You just summarized it very
I
well.
would love to say you just did. You just did.
But it is important, isn't it? Is that it's so easy to get caught up. You know, since we last did a show, of course, Israel and Gaza, and of course the Ukrainian war is going on, and then you've got political wars going on, and you've got economic this and that, and there's just so much level of stress out there, and so much level of, I'm just trying to move forward. I'm trying to be in the spirit, but how do you do it with this pulsating hate and everything else around us? How do we break through and be that peace that we know we need to be and what the world needs to be?
Well, I wish I had an answer for that, and I don't pretend to, but I have some things I can talk about. But
Yeah.
maybe some people will find them useful, maybe not. Um, I don't, in my experience, and this is just my personal limited experience, going out and looking for joy or searching for joy is kind of a dead end.
Hmm.
And it's almost like you're saying, I don't have joy. I have to go find it.
Yeah.
I think if joy exists, it's there in us, and it's bringing out what's already there. I don't necessarily think, in the face of the awful things that are happening in the world right now, um, joy is the kind of thing you just say, well, the world is terrible. I'm going to bring this out and ignore what's going on. I mean, I think
Hmm.
we all have a responsibility to be aware of what's going on and
Yeah.
to reach out to others. But I also think that when you're living your authentic life and you're manifesting who you truly are, that's a big enough battle anyway against a world that constantly
Hmm.
wants to put people in boxes. But if you can move through that and be yourself, all of what's in yourself does come out. And that
Hmm.
includes the inner light, the inner joy. Um, it doesn't, I'm not saying that's an answer. I'm saying that's one way to think about it. And step one is to find your authentic self and bring that forward, which is what one of my characters does for another character in the book. And this is what got me interested writing the MAENAD'S God. Um, And there's a musician character who does bring that out in this really cynical, alienated FBI agent. I think we need to bring that out in ourselves by being ourselves. And that's
Yes.
really, really hard. And I really think if everybody was able to be their authentic self, there'd be a lot less ugliness in the world. So much of this comes from having our inner
Yes.
heart stamped on constantly.
Mm.
And not just the wars, which are horrific, absolutely horrific, what's going on with people. Around the planet, there are so many suffering people that aren't in the news, that are just going through
Yes.
personal
Yes.
tragedies and going through things in their life. And often it's the end result of not being seen, not being heard, and at some point, maybe early in their childhood, being stunted from their authentic soul being able to present itself. And I'm not claiming I do that all the time. I'm
We're all a work
very
in
much fail at
process,
being able to do
right?
that.
Yeah.
We're all
Yeah.
work in process. I don't have all the answers, and I'm not the wise guru sitting here, but I have maybe some things I've noticed that I can share with you and your
Yeah.
audience. And one of them is when people start to really get courage to be who they are, to be their creative selves, to be the person that what I mean by that, I'm talking in circles here, obviously. Think about when you were a child and what was important to you and what gave you joy then and what you
Mm.
dreamed about when you were very young. And when people grasp that and grasp maybe what their path is and maybe how far maybe they've gone from that path, they either break or they become fighters to become themselves. And maybe it's a
And sometimes
combination
that
of
break
both.
is, yeah, that's it. Sometimes
Yeah,
we need to
sometimes,
break, to redefine. It's I was the saying we get the nudge, nudge, wink, wink all the time, going this direction, going this direction. We don't pay attention, and then we get the cosmic two by four. Boink! Are you hearing me now? And it's the universe is always conspiring to work with us, for us, to propel us forward, but we kind of shut things off and we box in ourselves because that's what society has told us to do. You're in category one,
mhm.
you're in category two, you better stay in your categories and don't step out. And we've become these humanoids that are being conditioned of what we should do, how important we should be, and what importance is. And we've blindly followed that and going, but I feel weighted down. And this is not a path I want to take. This isn't me at all. Who is me? But I know that I feel a fraud doing what I'm doing. And if you're
Mhm.
getting any of those questions, this is the time to literally stop and go, okay, if I don't like who I've become, where I'm going, and what I'm doing, what am I going to do to change? What am I going to do to redirect? And that's that journey in, isn't it? Listening
Yes,
into
it is.
that inner divine voice that is saying, I'm here to guide you to be the best instrument we know you to be. Not
Mhm.
what societies dictate you should be, but what we know you to be. Look at your own light, be illuminated by your own light, and follow that path of light within you that is projecting before you. That is a path that you should take because that's the path of who you are. But we need to let go of the you should be rather than you are and really define what those two are.
And as you say, Sarah, I think it's for most of us, it's safer to be in the box
Yes.
because you avoid criticism.
Yeah.
And there's the
Do
way
you though? I
humans
mean,
have,
people criticize us. Doesn't matter where we are. They're incredibly
but
judgmental.
oh yes, I know whatever you do, you'll be judged. But we evolved as social creatures, and
Mhm.
way back in our ancestors, if you were thrown out of the tribe, you'd die.
Yeah.
If you're on your own, I
Yeah.
mean, the animal would eat you. Or, I mean, you needed the group to survive, and I think we feel that survival thing when we come out of the box and are criticized. There's something primal in us. This will kill me. I've got to be in the box. It's safer. It's almost like hijacking the mind in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and as you say, to get out of that and be ourselves, I mean, I think it's one of the hardest battles you can fight. Now, I went through something I still kind of do in a way, and it goes with what you're saying. I was writing and playing music for many, many years, and I reached a point that I kind of gave into society. And I said, at this point, I really need to do something that is considered respectable, that is steady, that's stable. And I went to law school and I became a lawyer. And I'm not saying I hated it. I'm not saying it was a bad thing to do. I think I did. I really do think I helped a lot of people. And there was a reason I did it, but I did it too long. And looking
Mm,
back, it's like there's a mourning that goes on. I'm sorry I, in a way, went to law school, practiced for 12 years, and didn't continue on a creative path. And
mm,
now I'm back in the creative path, but what I did was more of a detour from it.
mm.
So I get that mourning when you figure out what you think your heart should be doing, and then you realize you missed it somehow. It hurts. And I
Yes,
know, I
because
know,
it's robbed you
and
of
I know that,
time.
yes, exactly. It's like lost time. And we
Mm,
all have regrets and we all look back, but there's something about missing what you think your heart's path is that really stings, I think.
yeah.
And it's hard for people. And then maybe they go back in the box again because it's safer than hurting. It's safer than,
I think what we're beginning to realize is that if I'm at discontent with self, if I'm disconnected with self, what's safe about that? Because no matter where I
hmm,
go, no matter whom I'm with, I am my biggest advocate, biggest warrior, biggest um, guider and supporter. And so if I'm not at home with myself, how can I expect myself to be at home anywhere else?
mm,
And I think at some point that question comes to all of us, and we can ignore it. And many people do and carry on because, respectful job as a lawyer, doing well, helping people. Shouldn't that be enough? But the heart and soul saying, yes, you're very capable in doing this, but this is not what you were designed to do. We all come to this planet with an agenda of something we need to accomplish, a gift that we've been given to ignite and use as an instrument to
mm,
achieve what it is we're here to achieve. And maybe being a lawyer was a part of it, or maybe even the lawyer skills and what you're doing now becomes into the equation. But at some point, we've got to look at, am I living a lie?
mm.
That takes courage to ask the question and to also hear the answer. And when you are honest with yourself and go, I am living a lie. My heart, soul, and spirit, where my truth is, where my divine self is in truth. But I'm so busy trying to be what everybody else expects me to be or wants me to be for them, I'm living a lie. And we have to honor that. If we have answered that and said, no, I'm living a lie, this is not my truth. And don't beat yourself up. Don't put yourself down. Congratulate yourself for looking at the fact that you're living a lie and that you have to take a different path. And okay, all right, this might be difficult. I'm back as a caterpillar. He's got to go back into the cocoon and come out as that butterfly. But look at it as something wondrous and exploratory and beautiful in your own self-discovery of who you really are and what you're really here to do. I think the resistance that we place upon ourselves is still the exterior expectation rather than the inner excitement of wanting to embrace that other journey.
Oh, I totally agree. And I think what you're saying about separating from the self and living a lie, I'd even push it further, Sarah. Say you're in this process of a living death. Who are
Mm,
you if you're
mm,
not yourself? You're
yes, yes,
somebody
yes.
else. So yourself, the person or if you want to use the word soul, and I know you and I may be comfortable with that, but many people may not be. But whoever the essence of you is been pushed back,
Suppressed.
strangled,
Hmm.
suppressed.
Hmm.
Your life is a living death. And I think people may not give it that name, but they feel it.
Yes.
And they know this isn't what I'm I should be doing. Now, once you figure out where your heart is and what your path you should be on, and you start taking steps to get there, you talked about finding joy. A lot of that will come out.
Oh, yes.
You will feel those moments of joy,
Yeah.
and you're not going to constantly be on a cloud nine. But I know I felt my greatest moments of joy when I decided I was going to start writing again, and it felt right to me.
Hmm.
And at that
And it
time,
flowed from you too, because it was
and it
right.
flowed,
Right.
and it was right. And that's what you should do. I mean, and I don't want to, give anybody the impression that I hated being a lawyer. It wasn't that. I'm very happy that I was able to help some people. And I just think I did it too long.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot from my clients. I learned an immense amount from my clients. And I saw a lot of things up close that a lot of people don't get to see about
Mm.
the way society treats
Yeah.
people. Um, but I've had too many years in it. I think there was a point when I was on that path for a while, should have gotten off a lot earlier than I
Yeah.
did. And
Yeah.
I kind of mourn that. Um,
Because it's mourning the time. We're only given
mhm,
so many years here on this planet, in this lifetime, in
exactly.
this vessel, and we're here to accomplish something. And if we have put our time into something else that, yes, maybe serving, but not truly serving, there's a difference. When it comes from the heart and soul, the energy behind that serving is just so much stronger and so much more powerful. And when you look back and go, gosh, I wish I'd realized this sooner. I wish I'd done this sooner, because now 12 years of my life has gone by when I could have put that 12 years of energy into what I'm doing now, and just expanded that energy out so much further. But we can't go back in time. And we have to look at where we're at now. And it's never too late. You're never too old to kind of wake up and go, I am going to listen from the inside out, from the very core of my being, whatever you want to call it, God, universe, spirit, energy, source. I don't care. The feeling that is inside, that is so overwhelmingly truth. Listen to it. Let it guide you. Don't dictate. Don't demand.
Exactly.
Allow and let it reveal. I think that's one of the things that I think is the hardest for humans to do, is let something manifest and reveal and take you down a path of wonderment for you to discover. Because okay, I'll go down that path, but it's got to be this, there's got to be a 5 star, and there's got to be that, got to be, no, get rid of the gotta be's. Just, I am willing. I am willing to go on this journey. I'm willing to be in this discovery. I'm willing to explore what the possibilities are. I'm willing to pay attention to the signs and the people I meet along the way. This isn't about the destination. This is about
Mm,
the rediscovery on my journey
mm.
of life as to who I am, what purpose I am here for, who am I here to serve, and how I'm meant to do it. And I think if we get out of our heads of it's got to be this way, and step into the trust and the faith in the divine and go, show me the way, I will follow.
And that's very scary to do. And it's very
Yes,
difficult for
initially,
many people
until you do.
initially. And a lot of people are in situations where it's extremely difficult to do. And
Yeah.
it's, I would never advocate that depending on your situation, you just throw everything over and go something new. You got to look at the people around you. You got to look at your responsibilities. But I think you can start with your heart. And I think you can start with blocks of time during the week in which,
Mm.
just claim these hours are mine and make small steps. And then things may open up in that way for you.
Well,
Um,
as you
it's really, really
elevate
hard.
and evolve on your journey, other people notice it, right? The
Yes.
people around
And
you
other
begin to
people may
notice it.
react negatively. Yeah, people
Yeah,
may
I
react
know. I mean,
negatively.
if you've got people that are negative about your growth, and I had that on my growth. I had people that dropped me, and then I realized, oh, thank you, Lord. They were meant to be dropped because they had become anchors in my life. So I thought, why are you leaving me while I'm on this discovery? And it's only as because they need to leave you why for your discovery.
Yeah.
And then you rediscover, you discover other people along the way. But as you lighten up literally in your energy, in your presence, in your aura, in your eyes, in your heart, in your spirit, people notice there's something different about you and may not be able to put their finger on it, but they go, I really like who you are. I was in Vancouver last weekend with my daughter, and we went to have a drink with a young man who owns this restaurant. And the last time I saw him, there was turmoil inside of him. He was going through a breakup. He didn't know where he wanted to go in life. And he took some time out, did his own rediscovery, and the equilibrium of him this time, even though running a restaurant can be very chaotic, the staff, the food, the clients, the this, the that, it's a constantly foot to the pedal type job. But there was an equilibrium about him now because he was in his space. He was no longer chasing. He was riding the wave, and it is all achievable. It's a question of we can make it harder on ourselves if we look at it as, yes, it's going to be hard. I would say it's going to be challenging. Are you up for the challenge?
That's interesting.
Because
Challenging is different than hard.
because hard makes it
Yeah.
is a pushback, and where challenging is an invite
Yeah,
forward.
exactly. That makes a lot of sense to me, Sarah. It really does. Challenging versus hard.
And I think, just like
And
you would as a
challenging, you may
lawyer.
not,
Yep.
I was
Go
just say
ahead.
challenging, you may not meet every challenge, but
No,
that's the point.
that's
It's facing or working with the challenge
yeah.
and seeing what comes out of it.
It's
Yeah,
exactly your
yeah,
lawyership. When you're presenting a case, you have a challenge before you to use the right words that are going to have people see things the way you want them to see them, right? So
yeah,
you
yeah,
weren't
sure.
you were in hard, you were in challenge, and so
Interesting.
I think a lot of us sometimes have to look at the verbiage of what we're saying to ourselves and what we're saying to others, because those words can carry some heavy weight or light weight. And I think it has an impact on our psyche of how we look at things. I've lived the hard way, lived through the molasses, never feeling I could get one foot out before the next foot's sinking. I know what hard is, but it's when I surrendered that I was suddenly given even ground to walk on. And I think that's,
Hmm.
sometimes we need to look at it. Am I making it harder because I want this elevation of spirit, but I want to stay safe in my little box? You can't be safe in your little box doing what you're doing that's not working for you and evolve spiritually into a realm that has no box. So you have to be willing to leave the box. And that doesn't mean you can still do all of this with all the people around you, but at some point, some people will drop by the wayside,
Hmm.
right? And somewhere you may find that your family members don't see you the same way anymore. It's up to them to how they see you. It's really actually got none of your business of how they see you because we can't control how people see us. That's their choice, right? But we can't apologize for who we are as we evolve. And if we leave people behind, so be it. That's a part of growth. That's a part of life. If they catch up at some point because you've inspired them to meet their own challenge, fantastic. If they wish to stay in their box of misery, you can't be a part of that anymore. Wish them well, and you have to move on. That's the hard part, right? Of
Yeah,
leaving people
okay.
behind. But you can't stay there in that misery when your heart and soul are saying, but you are here for something different.
Yeah, I think that's true. And one of the aspects of this that interests me the most is how this affects creatives and artists, because I
Yes.
think a lot of people out there, and we talked about this last time. I mean, creativity is something everybody has. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to claim only certain people have it, but I think people that see themselves as practicing an art are often faced with this. They're
Mm.
told in many situations, young people, they're told one of two things. Their parents either see them as some sort of a trophy that's going to go out and change the world, and they're the best whatever art they're practicing that ever was, or their parents are constantly on them that you got to give this up. You got to get a job. You got to go,
Get a real job.
yeah, get a real job. And as I said, I fell into that in midlife. I mean, it's a
Yes,
pretty powerful message. Um, and the creative spirit really tugs at a lot of people like that because they've suppressed it. And
yeah,
it comes out in depression, mental illness, drug
yes.
use, I think, because
Because
it's going
it's
to come out
escapism,
one way
right?
or another.
Yeah, exactly. Why do people turn to drugs,
Yeah,
turn to
and
alcohol,
also
turn
that,
to any form of abuse? It's because they can't deal with what they're in at the present, and so they're trying to escape it. And it's
yeah,
resistance is futile. At some point, you are going to have to face it. No amount of running from yourself is ever going to hide you from you. You are with you wherever you go. So resistance is
yeah,
futile. You will have to face yourself at some point.
yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of creatives are, put themselves in a box and give up art because
Yeah,
they're getting the pushback from society and from parents, and secretly they know that somehow this isn't right. And I don't mean to say that I don't know how to put this. Every creative should just throw off whatever they're doing and put themselves 100% into the arts. I mean, that's everybody knows you do need to make a living, and sometimes you need something to support yourself while you're doing the art. But I think about this a lot. What if, in general, society recognized creativity as a form of spirituality and respected it
hmm
in that way?
hmm
I mean, we don't say to people that practice, a major religion and keep a particular day holy, oh, you know, oh, you're not doing anything that day. Let's go out. I mean, we tend to respect somebody that says that's the day I keep whatever day it is, whatever religion it is. But I know from personal experience, and I know people who will say the same thing. You say to somebody, I can't see you a particular time because that's my time to practice or my time to write or my time to paint or whatever. It's like, oh, you're not doing anything. Come
Uh-huh.
out with us.
Yeah.
You hear this a lot.
Yes.
Or, or, you're in your house all day long. You're not doing anything. Or, yeah, but you can do that anytime.
Mm.
Why would you say that to somebody if their creativity is that spiritual part of them? That's
Right.
pretty.
Because they're not
And I
acknowledging
don't,
the spiritual part of them. That's the thing, right? They're
well,
looking at
or
ecom
the
as the
important part of them.
title is.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of gross when people say that.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
wonder if we had a more, I don't know, if we talked more about how people view the
Yeah.
arts,
Yes.
and,
Yes.
maybe, the artists in your life that tend to, as we talked about, hit the resistance, the mental illness, the drug use, maybe there'd be a lot less of that. If I'm not saying you necessarily have to respect someone or like the art they're doing, but if you didn't put them down for
Right.
doing it,
Yes. Let's
you
stop
understand that
stop with the judgment. Stop with the
this,
judgment, right?
and understand this is a practice some people
Yes.
engage in. Some people engage in religious practices, some people engage in creativity, and that's something that's important to them, like exercise or something. I mean,
Right. I mean, to each their own. Do not judge because it's
you
not
don't
something you won't do, right?
yeah,
I have two musicians on
right,
this week as
right.
well. And, one of them is a seasoned musician. He's been a singer, he's a lyricist. So for him, it's always about the words. And so he's also written books because the words are what his gift is. And he's been in the
Hmm.
business 30 or more years, right? Which is really hard to be in the business as a musicianship and be able to work as a musician. On the other hand, a young musician who's coming out with his first album who's tried kind of regular jobs and said, my soul was destroyed. I have to do music. The music is in me. I've got to express it. Now, you look at Michelangelo, we look at Beyonce, we look at all these people. Do we tell them to go and get a real job? Right?
No,
I mean, Taylor Swift tickets here in Vancouver going for $750 a ticket, and they're already sold out. Are we telling her to go and get a real job? Now, she had to start off the same way as everybody else, doing her due diligence. She's just exceptionally talented and lucky that she's also got where she has. And a lot of that to do today is with the social media following, which many of the old artists never had. So they really had to slog their way there. So when an artist of any kind has managed to keep keep doing what they love and the essence of who they are and bringing that truth to you, and they've made a living out of it, this something should be celebrated because they are not looked upon as career people. They're looked upon as that they're just living in a fantastical world. And without, where would you be without their music? Where would you be without their art? Where would you be without these people designing clothes for you? Where would you be without the artistry of a sleek car that you're driving around that everybody's looking at? Where would you be without the creatives?
Well, I think there's also people value fame and they value money.
Mhm.
If any of these artists hadn't made that and they were, still some local artists, they'd probably be getting the same pushback from people.
Yeah,
It's the fame and the money. And I run into this too. I mean, for a long, long time, for years, I never told people I wrote because the first question I get from most people is, have I heard of you before? Not what kind of books do you write? What
right,
kind of writing do you do? I mean, that's what people care about. So there's this real bifurcation that goes on. And, great for the people that do careers and, make a lot of money and have a lot of fame. Good on them. Um, Most artists are not that, and most artists are confronting this constant negativity. So what is the message? If you're not making lots of money and everybody
right.
doesn't know your name, you shouldn't be creative.
Right,
I mean, this is the
exactly.
message.
And yeah,
Exactly.
and it's got to be. I mean, I actually have on this week to Dr. Slakey. He's a surgeon, but he's
Yeah.
written a book about the entire process of the medical system. Is that we
Hmm.
don't look at someone's medical story. It's all like manufacturing plant, like a car. This person's going
Really?
to do the fender, this person's going to do that, and it's all parts going down the conveyor belt. And nobody's communicating and nobody's looking at that patient as a whole being. And it's all run by the accountants and pharmaceutical. And it's all about the dollars. It's not about the human being coming out well and vibrant, being able to continue on their beautiful, productive life. It's all about how much money they're willing to invest in the human. And if it's going to cost too much, forget it. If we lose some, we lose some. We have put so much emphasis as a human society on the prestige of money, the power of money, and that money dictates who's worthy and who isn't. And we have lost sight
Exactly.
of the beautiful human soul we are and the enrichment and the abundance of our very being. We've put the emphasis of enrichment in the wrong place. And we've become slaves to that money. Think I'm only worthy if I'm making X amount. I'm only worthy if I have this many followers. I'm only worthy if I have this title in the job. I'm miserable doing it, but look, I'm rich. Oh, I can afford that cocaine now to escape,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, there's always been that element in human society,
Yeah,
but my sense is in the last 20 years with the rise of social media and the internet,
mm,
it's gone off the
off the
charts.
charts. Yeah,
Everything is monetized.
yes,
Personal relationships, uh, enjoyment, time off, everything is monetized. It's like, what's left that isn't? And
right.
that does a real number on everybody.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
just creatives, everybody that feels that, whatever part of their soul should be doing whatever, is it going to make money?
And also
I don't
defining
know.
what
I
people will
mean,
spend on. I'm a podcaster, I have been for 11 and a half years. I
mhm,
carry my station. I do everything by
yeah,
donation. The amount of people that do donate, those that I interview or those that are listening, is minuscule. It does not keep me afloat. So it's my money that keeps me afloat because it's considered, but you're just a podcaster. Well, I've made this my career. I've made this my commitment to bring people like yourself the inspiration, the solutions, the skills and the abilities that people can listen, learn, and apply in their life. This is my commitment. It's considered a kind of an art. And but if you're an artist, therefore
yeah,
you're used to being poor, right? So artist and poor
mhm,
in one sentence. And it's like,
yeah,
why am I not worthy of being paid? For me, I don't do it for the money. That's just to keep the doors open. But Why are we putting the importance of pay? This person's worth more than that person because that person's got a degree. Well, what are they doing with that degree? Whom is it helping? Should it not be on the impact of our service and whom we're helping that it should be looked at? We've got to get out of this I'm only good enough if. And if we're
Well,
constantly looking at that, we're going to let ourselves down and society down every time because you're chasing an illusion of self-worth that is within, it's not out there.
I think money's easy to measure too. I mean,
Mm,
you can,
yeah.
it's something, it's measurable, whereas things like joy and spirit
Mm.
and satisfaction in one's life, how do you measure that? And I I believe with the rise of using computers and algorithms, being able to just put number to something has kind of amplified what's already always been there. This, I guess, valuing people based on how many dollars and cents they're carrying at the moment.
Mhm.
It's it's causing a lot of problems and a lot of mental health problems.
See,
Like
but it's also
like
what
you
you
said,
feed.
how
We're an algorithm.
yeah,
Everything we do has an
right.
algorithm to it. Now, if what you put out is honest to your algorithm, then that's the algorithm that's picked out and that's more that they will feed you. So if you are getting money chasers or negative people that want to suck the energy out of you, that means you've put the invitation out there in your algorithm. But if you're choosing to feed the the joy, the spirit, the love, and the light of who you are, those are the people that are going to pick it up and follow your algorithm. We can't fight the algorithm, whether they were on the internet or not. If you're in a group of friends, you're going to go to the like vibe people, people you vibrationally connect with, people that you're in sync with. That's human nature. So we can look at social media as being the enemy, or we can look at it as with anything. This knife and fork can cut my food, or I could use it to stab someone. It comes back down to us. Where is our accountability, our responsibility of how we use an instrument? A car can get us from A to B wonderfully, but it can also kill. So, where is our responsibility? We like to blame other things around us, which are actually there to enhance our abilities. But it's all a question of what's my mindset and how I use this. Am I using this to coin in, or am I using this to illuminate?
That's an interesting perspective, certainly, and it's something that you could apply to anything, not just social media. But
Exactly.
I think with social media, so many people, I mean, you log into your Instagram or whatever, and there's your follower number,
Mm.
and whether it's gone up or down, or your likes or whatever, and it's very hard, I think, for most of us to get away from that and not tie their self-esteem up to how many followers you have or whatever.
How many
But I
people
think
interact with you? Look at it that way. You know, I'm primarily
yeah,
LinkedIn and Facebook for interaction. I post on the other thing. I don't expect to interact there because they're Insta, right? They just want a picture and that's it. There's not an invitation. But, you know, like things with
yeah,
Facebook
yeah.
feed, you could follow a comment that someone's made, start a conversation, interact with each other. We've forgotten how to interact. We've become headliners and we've forgotten how to actually have the conversation in whatever medium. Is that if you're feeling empty, is because you're putting out empty and receiving empty. Add a little more depth to life.
Yeah, there's something to that. There's a lot to that. Um, I don't think there's one frame for everything. I mean, there's different ways of looking at things,
Yeah.
and what you say is certainly very valuable. Um, I don't, like I said at the beginning of I don't know what the answers are, but I know we're on the wrong path as a society.
Oh
And I
gosh,
think a
are
lot
we?
of people know that. I recently read I think it was in the Toronto Star the other day that Toronto is like the most depressive city now in the world or something. It's like they did this study and 37% of the people that answered it said described symptoms of what would be considered a major depressive episode in the last year. And that's a pretty high number, apparently. And a lot of people are, talking about feeling alienated and not having friends. And I thought, wow, I mean, this says something, but I don't know what is being done about it, what anybody's doing about it. Like you're saying, it's an individual thing. The
Yes.
individual needs to put out
Yeah.
the energy and
Yes.
receive it. I
Yes.
don't think it's something. See, there's another thing. I don't think this is something society as an abstraction can fix. Society can be toxic, the world can be toxic, but ultimately, like it's us. It's individualized us. You put something out and hopefully get that back.
And we become part
Um,
of the society. That's how we change society, is changing
right.
our interaction
And
with society.
as I
Yeah.
said earlier, if more of us do that, it
Yes.
maybe sets up an effect,
A
a chain
chain
effect or
effect.
something
Yeah.
like that. But
Yeah. I
um,
mean, we are the
the
problem, but we're also the solution.
yeah, my point is, I think the environment we live in, certainly socially, the emphasis on money is not healthy, but we as an individual can certainly be healthy with ourselves
Yes.
and put that out.
Yes.
And if enough of us do that, okay, maybe things will be a little better in some circles. Um,
Well,
the world has always had problems. The world has always been difficult,
yeah.
challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
again, it's, we can't, point the finger and say it's the world doing this to me. Because there's three fingers pointing back at it, and it's simple. What are you doing to the world? Where's your accountability, responsibility? What are you doing about it? We have a global society right now that is an absolute crisis, and its only solution is to annihilate or overcharge. And that seems to be what's the governing factor right now. And at some point, we have to, as a society, say, enough, enough. We can't keep doing this to each other. So, how can I be part of that chorus that is invitational to someone else? Not in an angst voice, not in a pitchfork voice, but in a harmonious voice that others want to join, that others want to be a part of that collective, building up that beautiful choir of harmony that resonates out and invites more harmonies and more choruses. Is that at some point, where do we in our own life, just like you did with your lawyership, I can't do this anymore. I've been here too long. I have to go back to my sole purpose. I have to go back to my writing. I have to go back to my art. You answer the call of your own divine presence. Now, the more and more people that do that, and you're living from your own divinity, your own truth, your own meaningful purpose, you're living more from harmony. And in that harmony and that clarity, that's where creative ideas that can grow, that can serve as each and every one of us begin to grow. But it is up to all one of us. We are the worst species on this planet with what we do to each other.
I
But we
know,
are
I'm laughing,
also,
but it's so true.
but we're also the most illuminating and the most extraordinary species. It's all up to us as individuals. What are we going to feed within ourselves? What are we going to
Isn't that
respond to?
isn't that fascinating though? As creatures, as entities, we are the worst
Yes,
and the best.
yes.
And
It's all
often the
choice.
worst and the best coincide in the same person. And a lot of what you're saying, I mean, I am by no means the first person to say this ever. This has been said so many times. Philosophers have gone through all of these,
Yep.
gyrations and finally in old age come to the same conclusion. And as I get older, I'm coming to this conclusion. The only thing we can do is be kind to each other and kind to ourselves. That's the
Yes.
summary.
Yes. And
I,
and
I
doesn't
don't
it
I don't
start
think there is
there?
a scheme.
No,
I don't think
no.
there's an ideology, a scheme, an answer. I mean, there's a way of being.
Yes.
Be kind to others and kind to yourself.
You can't in a
That's
loving
the only thing that can
vibration.
work.
It can, because when you're in that
Right.
higher elevation, you're actually measurable. The sciences have measured people in that higher consciousness of kindness, caring, compassion, consideration, and love. and they resonate at a higher hertz, at a higher frequency. You can't, in this state of
Really?
being, knowingly hurt someone. To do so would be to hurt yourself. If we could all rise up to that by just be caring, be
Yeah.
kind, be compassionate, being considerate, step into that love vibration, right? For yourself, within yourself. And then when people
See
around
that
you,
other person.
it's
Yeah.
measured higher.
And yep, it does. It does have this lifting effect. But
But it
you're
is
right.
measurable. And scientists have measured it. And it's the same with people who are what called spiritual. If you look at the media or TV shows on it, anybody that's spiritual that isn't under a church denomination is a cult. And they evilize it all the time, right? And it's like, let's look at what some of the churches have been doing in the last few centuries and what they're doing now. Because the God I know doesn't say to someone, because you're black, white, pink, yellow, polka dot, gay, rich, poor, healthy, wise, doesn't judge. The love is there for everyone. Your accountability is within your own conscience, but the love is there for everyone. So when you have a church saying, God only loves you if you put a lot of money in the kitty every week, or you're of this color, or you're doing this or you're doing that, that is not a divinity God. That's a human God. And that human God is where the problem is because it divides and it conditionalizes and it judges and it demoralizes.
Yeah, and it's, in my opinion, not real divinity, as you say. That's
Yeah,
more like a marketing technique or
it's
something.
a business.
But
Back to being a business.
a business. I can't say, what God is or isn't, or what divinity isn't. The closest I've ever felt divinity is being in the presence of a great work of art. I mean,
Yes.
I think creativity is a shadow form of divinity and a form of love. I think
Yeah.
creativity is love. It's one thing I do write about in the MAENAD'S God. The love that the main character Pete experiences for the first time in his life comes in the form of Jade creating stories and music and poetry for him, creating these alternate fictional worlds and that he can inhabit. And it helps to heal him. It helps to bring him out, his true self out. It's the most important encounter he's ever had. And the book asks the question, is this what it means to encounter a God or encounter divinity?
Mm.
Or is this just, an overblown metaphor way of describing the experience? But
But only the person
I don't know.
feeling
I
it
mean,
will
I don't
know.
know what to say.
Yeah, but only the person feeling it
Yeah,
is going to
maybe
know. That's if
only
it's
the
your
person
truth.
feeling it maybe has the right to define it for
Yes,
themselves, what they
yes,
went through.
yes.
It's their
But
experience, right?
you writing the book in the
Right.
first place, was divinely given. The whole story coming to you, the whole reason behind it, the whole discovery of love found in the book because of these characters is a self-reflection. It doesn't matter what people write about. There's always their own truth in there.
Well, I don't want to say divinely given. That sounds really, I don't know, a bit much, but I think the act of creation for anybody is something like divinity, whether your creation is whatever it happens to be, and it doesn't have to be an art, as we've discussed before.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
I
what
think putting
art do you
yourself
bring to
out
your
there, your
work,
authentic
right?
self out there is an
Yeah.
act.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, whatever art, or reevaluating your work as a form of art. Like
Yeah.
maybe you've been told your whole life that running a restaurant is not an art. Well, it is if you
Yes.
bring love to it, if you bring
Exactly.
energy and creativity to it, and anything can be. I
And I
know
think
people
again,
will
that again
disagree
is
with
the
that,
state
but I
of
think
being.
it's yes,
It's the state of
yes.
being is that we know when we're around people who are being, not just doing. They are being who they are. And whatever they do is in their beingness. Then you know people who are just doing without being because they're busy doing, but there isn't the connection of their beingness.
Okay, that's a distinction. Yeah. And their beingness is there, but they've probably suppressed it into the box. And
Yes,
people
on
that
which
are
we're saying
always
don't.
doing are
Yeah,
often
yeah.
pushing themselves down. Um,
Don't push yourself down. That's the
so
whole point. I mean, this whole genre is
yeah,
ignite your heart and soul. We need your heart and
yeah,
soul. When you are truly abundant within and who you are and what you're here to do, no apology, no need to verify, validate, or justify. You are, and your essence is enough.
yeah.
And if people don't get you, that's their issue, not yours. Because
Right,
people that do
right.
feel you, you may ignite that something inside of them, awaken something inside of them, not by what you're doing, but by who you are being. So don't let other chitter chatter thoughts and assumptions or dictations or judgments from other people suppress you. The whole point about this, there is no box. You are a free entity, a free spirit.
Yeah.
Be the love that you are. Allow it to come out. And if somebody doesn't get you, that's okay. You're there for the people that do.
I love what you just said, Sarah, that there is no box.
Mm-mm.
The box is an illusion.
It is.
It's, but it's a really strong one.
Yeah,
It's
but only
for
us can
some,
put the
but
walls down.
it's the only person who could get out of the box is the person in the box, though.
Yes,
What's
yes. Push those walls
that's what
down.
makes it,
Yeah.
yeah, but only they can do it. Right. Right.
And follow your
Interesting.
path. You left a fruitful business where you were very good at it and helping a lot of people because you knew in your heart and soul it wasn't right. It wasn't you. You'd been there, done it. Okay, I've done it, but no, I have to follow who I've always been. The art, the musician and the writer. It's in me. It has to come out. If I don't let it out, I'm going to combust. So you walked
Right.
away from a
Right.
career where I'm sure many people had judgment of you walking away from a career and going in and doing this.
No. Yeah. Yeah. And I just think there are people that still do, but it was the right decision.
Exactly.
And hey, people had judgment when I started writing and doing music full time. I
Yeah,
mean, but it was the right decision at the
exactly.
time. And I walked away from an academic career to do that. So I
And
think the
really,
heart knows where it should be.
precisely follow the heart. The heart
Yes.
that you're writing, your music, the presence of who you are without apology, just being you, owning you, right? Being you. That's all you're meant to be. Everybody else is taken. All these other illusions of what you should be or what you are to other people. You can line up seven people, and I guarantee to all seven people, you will be something different to each one of them. Are we meant to, adhere to this one, adhere to that one? I bent myself into a triple pretzel trying to be what everybody wanted me to be at the cost of
Mm,
myself. And it
it
took a
must have been
long time
painful,
for
Sarah.
me to discover who I am and step into who I am without apology. You can take me or leave me. I will not be offended. I'm for those that see me, hear me, and want to be around me. And if it's fewer people, that's perfectly all right. I'm not about the numbers. I'm about the depth of your truth and my truth dancing together. Because I
Oh, I love
guarantee you,
that. Yeah.
you will never in your existence please any one of those seven people individually. You will not, because we can't live up to their expectation. And once we do something that kind of lives somewhat up to it, their demand goes up higher and higher and higher, and it costs us more and more and more each time.
Sarah, I have to say, your image of two people's truths dancing together is the most beautiful image I've heard in a while. That's lovely.
And
It's absolutely
100
lovely.
million% achievable. Be you, be the essence of who you are without any of that other. I mean, kind of what happens sometimes, our heart and soul goes and does, but our head is still boxed in.
Mm,
What would people think? Will anybody read it? Will anybody like my music? Will anybody judge me on this? Whether this is the take the box off. Off you go, bonfire. The only opinion that counts is how do you feel about it? Do you, in all your conscience and your truth, stand by what you've done, and you're putting it out
Yeah.
with the right intent. That's all that counts.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like you're being true to yourself or not true to yourself.
Exactly.
And
You've just won an award because somebody felt the truth in the book. It wasn't just the story. If they don't feel the story, words are just words. But words, when they're felt, when people can feel the story, they can relate to the characters. They are invested in the story because it's a reflection on their lives. That's when it becomes a truth. You've won an award for that. So soak that
yeah.
in. Other people felt what you've written. So no big sigh. I want to see a big smile. Own that.
I think you're right that emotion matters a lot. I mean, feeling matters a lot, particularly when you're trying to convey. We're
Yes.
feeling creatures. I mean,
Yes.
as much as I respect logic and the intellect in academic discipline, I mean, I spent years in
Yes.
academia. When you're trying to convey to something, if the feeling isn't there, in most cases, the person isn't going to get it, isn't
Right.
going to react to it. Um, and that's because the way we are,
Yeah.
we do react to emotion. We do react to that kind of stimulus. And it's almost like emotion and feeling is a barometer of the soul at that point.
Yes.
What is the soul going
Yes.
through? It teaches you what to look at what you're feeling, and that is kind of an indication of want to talk about the weather, the psychic weather out there, or
Right.
whatever is going on in your environment, where things are right or wrong, or so yeah. And I think if in any form of work to try to channel that so other people, so you're transmitting that feeling through whatever work you're doing so other
Exactly.
people can receive that feeling. That's what art is all about, more than anything
Right.
to me.
And
It's the transmitted vision.
your art was in your book that told a story of hope. It told the story of igniting a heart and soul, right? That was your own heart and soul that came through the story, even though the characters are not you. It was your own reflection of how you felt that you put into those characters. No other people have felt it. It's now become that inspiration, that's invitation for them to be aware of their own essence, their own feelings. We run away from our feelings. We numb our feelings. We become addictive to something else to avoid our feelings. But we cannot outrun our feelings. We have to face them and go, if I'm feeling ill at ease, then if I don't address it, it will become a disease. And is it a disease of the heart? Is it a
Yeah.
disease of the body? Is it a disease of the mind? Because I have to address who I am without anybody else's opinion on the outside. I do not need to be validated by anybody else. I need to look at myself in the mirror and say, are you honestly being you, doing what you're here to do?
Well, that's something I hope readers take away from the Maenad's God, that they explore art as potentially a healing force that can show
Yes,
a true a person their true self and help them get there. And also to explore, Pete's perspective. How do you get into a life where you're so alienated that nothing matters to you anymore? I mean, this is what Jade has to heal for him.
mm,
And to look at his situation and to look how he is kind of brought out of it and then where he's left at the end. And I think that that pattern, that movement would speak to so many readers, and
yes,
I think it does. And if
yes,
people feel that, and I hope creatives, I hope artists read this, because I'd like more artists to think about the creativity they're dealing with. How can that be used to help people open up their hearts, heal
yes.
others? Is that
Well, as you,
is that a use for art that we have forgotten about
right,
because so much of it's been commercialized? And I would
yes,
never say commercialized art can't do that. I don't mean that, because there's been some really, really fine commercialized art that's been very meaningful to me. I'm just talking about a shift in emphasis, a
yes.
shift
What
in
does it mean
where
to
does it
me?
come from?
You know, when somebody looks at a piece of art or reads a book or listens to a tune or listens to something else or sees something else, tastes the food, whatever it is, if you don't gobble it down and just go, "Oh, yeah, pretty, move on," but stop. be present with it. Be present with it. Truly look at it. Don't just see it, look. Because
Mm.
when it sparks a feeling inside of you of satisfaction or of awakening or of a story within itself that's sparking a story within you, then it's serving you. Just because that picture is up on the wall doesn't mean it's not serving you. The story it has to tell is its connection to you. Look at the story, feel the story. When you read a book, how much of you do you feel is in that book or is telling of your story or a story that you would like to be told? When we eat that meal, don't just gobble it down as just food. You know, the chef, the people that ordered it, the people that grew it, the people that have cooked it with love. Are you
Mm.
eating that essence? We have become consumers,
Oh, yeah.
gobbling it up. Pause, please. Pay attention to what you are being given on your plate with your eyes, through your reading, through the way you're feeling, through all of the artistry that is all around you, to what you're wearing. Pay attention and show
So
some
many
gratitude.
people aren't present for anything.
No,
I mean, let alone life-sustaining activities like eating. They're just
no,
not present for anything. They just sleepwalk through their life. And
that's the problem, isn't it?
yeah,
You know, you're sleepwalking through life and just waiting for it to end. You're here to live. We all come here with a soul contract to achieve something. And what we need to do is embrace that journey of what it is we're here to do. What is my instrument? How am I meant to play it? Can I play it solo where I have an impact? What if I join an orchestra that each in our strengths we harmoniously play together and transcend that message
yeah,
out, right? It's like, don't ask what the world can do for you, ask what you can do for the world, because you are that beautiful
yeah.
instrument that is here. And you know, like the musician that I interviewed, Gino, for him, I asked him what comes first, the music or the lyrics, and he said it's always the lyrics. And you know, with
Mm.
the other young man, I asked him the same question. And he said, I'll have a lyric that I've written down, and then suddenly I'll play a chord and I know where the lyric belongs, right?
Ah, okay.
And it's paying attention to how you're receiving the information, because when you do, it comes together in the storytelling of what it's meant to say. But, you know, again,
Yeah,
dictating. It is for whom? For what? Who wrote this society Bible that we've got to live by? Because let's look at society. It's dysfunctional. We are still having wars. We're still having hatred. We're having hate crimes. We're still having opulence at the expense of other people. We're still having hunger. And we still don't
I
have
know.
medical free for people. And it's like we are in the 23rd century, folks. We have all these skills and tools and things around us. Why are we not appropriately using them? Why are we misusing them? Well, we can't point the finger at everybody else out there. We've got to point the finger back at ourselves and saying, well, what am I doing to contribute to the problem or contribute to the solution?
Yeah. I think what happens though is collectively a lot of bad things happen because so many of collectively people aren't aware. And then the few people that are trying to do good, I mean, by yourself, what I guess what I'm trying to say is, as an individual, you can't save the world, but you can save your world. You can save your piece of it.
And then go
And
find your
and it,
orchestra, right? Then go
yes,
find your choir.
yes.
Go and find your
And
tribe.
maybe,
Yeah.
right, right. And maybe that's discouraging to some that see all the terrible things out there and think, what can I do? Um,
Be
be
love.
kind to yourself.
Yes.
Be love, I
Yeah.
guess. Be kind to yourself. You maybe you as an individual aren't going to stop the wars, but as an individual, you can make what you can touch in your personal world that much lighter. And as we talk, that can go out further. Um,
Why do we have the wars there? Well, politically, you have somebody with an agenda. Then you have people who have stepped into hate because of history of division. You know, pitting one against the other, one lifetime after another. And now you've got people who cannot hear reason, who can't come to the table and compromise or have conversation. They can't see each other as the same. They can only see different and hate. That hate is something that is within them. All hate is within us. We may hate what is happening to us, but if we become the hate, we then inflict that hate on someone else. That I don't understand. How many people have been abused in their life horribly and gone on to do the same to their own
Yeah,
without realizing it, doing it in a different way because the pattern hasn't changed. The program's still running on the old data. We've got to realize it's time to change that programming, and we have to start within.
that's exactly right, Sarah. The pattern hasn't changed. It's just had more technology, and you can trace the same pattern back thousands of years
Yep.
to wars and people.
Yes.
And until we break the pattern, all of this new tech we have that could be used to
Yes.
improve everybody's life is just going to be subsumed into the pattern. It's
And you
not
know,
much you
the
can
thing
do.
is, the universe gave me a saying about nearly 6 years ago now, coming in February 6 years, of I'm going to shake you up to wake you up for you to step up and change it up and grow up vibrationally, but grow up. We're whining all the time about what we don't have and all that, but we'll be given it all. It's all there for us, inside and outside, if we just learn to embrace it. And I don't mean the money, the house, the fast car. I mean what's really important, the meaningful purpose, the love, the conviction behind who you are and what you are here to do. The universe is there to support us on that journey. But we've got to grow up and stop pointing fingers and go, well, what's my role in it? If I don't
Yeah.
like what I'm seeing out there, why am I not making an effort to change it? Can I change it on that big scale? No. But you imagine, just for one moment, that everybody in the world, for one moment, stepped into kindness, stepped into compassion.
Oh my God, that would change the world.
It would. It would. And why is it so hard for us to do?
I wish I knew, Sarah.
Because we're not looking at it as an evolution or a challenge. We're making excuses, right? And we're still living on that old programming. Somebody pull the plug on that programming, please. You decide what your programming is. Listen from out, inside out. It will show you. It guided you to write the book. It guided you to leave your business and do what you're doing now, where you couldn't have continued on doing what you were doing. You would have been more robotic at doing it rather than heartfelt in what you're doing now. We want people to step into heartfelt. Yes, folks, whether you're creative, artistic, writer, whatever, you can have a career that is heartfelt. You've just got to understand what your heart is telling you. And then you need to find that
Yeah.
career where you can pour your heart into it. Because that then illuminates your work life, your home life, everything life. But it's up to us, our choices. Is it hard or is it just a challenge? Do I wish to go on my self-discovery and wonderment of who I am and what I'm here for? Or do I wish to make excuses and live in the pain and the sorrow? I don't like my life. My life is horrible. What are you doing about it? End your career, go and do something you like to do. And yes, no, you don't have to do it overnight. You can transition,
Yeah.
right? But it is start taking the journey to ignite your heart and soul to follow your path. And you may write a book that becomes a number one, that wins awards. But if one person reads that book and it had an impact on them, that was a positive impact that pivoted them in the right direction, that's truly where the award lies.
Yeah. That's where success lies.
Yes.
If you can reach another person. To me, that's true artistic success when you've created something and another person has responded to it in
Yeah.
a way that's led
That it's
them
helped them. Yeah.
to think or something.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
That's truly the gift because that shifting of thinking, that pivoting, that looking at something from a different point of view is, then becomes something that gathers momentum and, propels people forward. And sometimes people just don't realize they're stuck. or they're living this droid life rather than living, the human essence life. And that, hell, if they can do it, so can I. What do I need
Yeah.
to do? And what you need to do is switch off all the outside chatter for a start, all the outside expectation, and start listening in, because believe me, the chorus is inside of you. It's there. The whole team, the whole universal team
Yeah.
is right there to guide you on your way. And you've just got to learn to be true to be you. Now, I'm going to be the first one to say that you can't always truly be you in every arena. I have friends and I have kids that I'm a different version of myself with each one of them, and they're all truly
Mm.
me, but they don't get this me completely because I'm still mama and perceived as mama for what they need mama to be. So they don't always see Sarah. I'm still the same essence as a mother. I'm just not the full-on Sarah. So we can be um, a diluted version of ourselves without losing ourselves, because not everybody's ready to receive us in our light. And that's okay. I'm not being untrue to myself. I'm just not
But
being
you're
truly who
but
I
you're
am.
being multifaceted.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Because they're not there on their journey yet to receive that part of me. But that doesn't mean I can't be a part of that journey in some way, in support, even if it's subliminally. And that's the thing, is be flexible, don't be rigid. You've got people that step into the spirituality. No, you've got to be spiritual, you've got to be this, you've got to be that. No, no, no. You've all you've done is just replace,
You're right.
the word spirit, religion with spirituality. It's about
Yeah, one
free
set of rules
flow.
with another.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right.
It is about be the wind, be the running waters, be the oxygen in your heart, in your body, right? Be in flow, and then you'll know where you need to go. That means
I think
letting
that's very well
go,
put.
surrender.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And we think that kind of surrendering and letting go is not taking control. It's actually allowing the vision to come to us that we can take the reins of. And we think that by, surrendering is that we're giving up. No, what we're doing is surrendering everything that is wrong and inviting what is right for our path. And, one of the greatest gifts I think we can give ourselves is our vulnerability.
Hmm. I'm gonna have to think about that. Vulnerability is scary for people, including me. So, but it's certainly worth considering. It's certainly worth thinking about.
That vulnerability is when you get to that spot where it is unapologetically you, and you're always showing that part of you that they can receive. But that vulnerability is, it doesn't matter what's said to me. It doesn't matter how somebody else may judge me or condemn me. I know in my truth that I'm safe, because that's their opinion and generally a reflection of how they feel. It's not a reflection of who I am. So it's a reflection of what needs to be dealt with inside of them. So their words may be just words, but they are no longer shatter me, because in my truth and my vulnerability, I'm safe.
Okay, I can see what you're saying there. Vulnerability is strength within the
Yes.
paradigm you've described.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still don't like feeling vulnerable, but I get what you're saying.
It's standing by your truth, of who you are and what you're doing. I've been doing this 11 and a half years. When I started, I didn't know what I was doing. And, with every conversation, I don't plan anything out. It's where the conversation needs to go, where the flow is, right? I might be a conductor, but I'm the music we're writing as we go.
The symphony we are playing, Sarah.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that's it. When you write, you've got an idea of your characters, but I'm sure as you wrote, your characters took on their own personality and they
They
showed
took
you
on
where they
their own
wanted to
before
go.
I started writing, believe me. They
Exactly. Exactly. And you were compelled to tell their story. Now, some people don't understand that. How could these people feel so real? They're just a figment of your imagination. Are they? Or are they a channeled voice that has come through you of a story that needs to be told in that way? And you're the person chosen to do it. It's like, why do we, it's like somebody puts out a beautiful picture on Facebook and somebody come up, that's fake, that's photoshopped. Why can't you just enjoy the picture for what it is?
I don't know. Some
And
people can't enjoy anything.
no,
They can't, they're
no,
afraid to or something. I don't
yes.
know.
Um,
That for some people, enjoyment feels like vulnerability, and I think that's a very interesting idea.
yeah, yes. And,
I mean, we do often, and I think women in particular, but it's not like men are, this doesn't happen to men. We get shamed for liking things. We absolutely do, many people.
yeah,
If you're too enthusiastic about stuff, if you like
you're
something
over
someone
the
else
top.
doesn't feel you should, you're
Yeah,
over the top, you're making it your whole personality,
yeah,
or you're liking the wrong thing. Like, how can you like that? You know,
right.
that's,
Again, as I've just
and
said,
people
that's
often,
that's their issue. Don't
and
take
I
it
am
on.
guilty of, I have felt the shame, so I like don't like talking about things I like because I've kind of, you know, I
You're
think
just
like
talking
some
to the wrong
people
audience,
have,
darling. You're just talking to the wrong people.
yeah,
That's all.
yeah, or it's almost you're made to feel bad because of something that you happen to like. I don't know.
But you
It's
don't have to
sometimes,
feel you don't have to feel that if you feel good about what you know you feel good about. That's what I was talking about in
yeah.
the vulnerability, right? Somebody may criticize me because they don't like what I'm doing, what I'm saying, or who I am. That really has nothing to do with me. It's a reflection of the discourse that's within them, or I'm simply not their cup of tea. If I don't, and believe me, it used to matter. It used to matter what people thought of me. Now I realize it's really none of my business. And if they want to impose their negativity on me, I have a right to reject it. Now, if it's a critique that is something I can take and grow with, yes. If it's a criticism because they feel disconnected or discontent in their own life, I don't have to receive it. I'm not going to apologize for being Sarah or being who Sarah is or what Sarah does. There's this thing called an off switch. If you don't like me or don't like what I have to say, switch it off. No
And that
apologies.
works. And that works.
It does because what you end up doing is you live in your own essence of who you are without the apology, without the guardedness, and you will attract those same vibe people that see you, that want to know you, that want to interact with you, without this filter of, apologizing or I'm going to keep that filter there to filter through. No, it's the people that really get you will find you if you live continually in that vibration. There will always be people that will criticize. But I realize that that critique is a reflection on where they're at. What me being me has shown them something they need to address, right? They need to address that. That's what that reflection is. If it's something I really need to address myself and it triggers that inside of me, okay, thank you. Thank you. That's something I need to deal with that I was unaware of. But the big thing is don't take it personally. Then it
It
can't
really is
hurt you.
all, it really is all about themselves often.
Mm,
We're all talking all about ourselves all the time.
yeah, yeah. We can't do our job if we're not truly in a state of love for who we are, and what we're here to do. In other words, love of self. If I didn't love myself, I couldn't do the work that I do truthfully. But it took me an awful long time to give myself permission to love myself because I kept seeing myself from everybody else's judgment of what they wanted me to be. And then I realized I can't be that reflection. That's what you need in your life. It's not who I am. And it took a long time and a lot of continued optimism to find me.
And Sarah, isn't that sad that so many people, including you, are kind of taught or trained or pushed out of
Yes.
loving themselves?
Yes.
It's
That's what's the core
it's
problem.
it's tragic.
Yes. I mean, you look
It's
at a child. how they love, how they interact with life, the exuberance of who they are, the discovery they're in. And then we send them to school and say, sit at that desk and conform. You will speak when I tell you to speak. You would do this, you would do that. And we shoot out, we kill out all that beautiful essence of discovery because we tell them what they're going to discover. We don't allow
Yeah.
them to show us what they're in discovery of, right? It starts
Right.
there.
Right.
And then through the societal condition, the family condition, it goes on and on and on, and people lose the connection within themselves. And what are they looking for? They're looking to reconnect with that inner child, with that inner essence, in their inner truth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're looking to reconnect with that inner child and then go
Yes.
through their lives in that kind of pain. It's,
I mean, I've just
I
written my
think,
book and it's coming out in December. And it was weird.
yay,
Yeah, I know. It was weird writing it. And
yay.
I know that there's probably a lot more that could have gone into it. I felt, okay, no, this for now, it's finished. If ever I do another one, I do another one. And my brother is a professor of literature, so he kind of edited it. And he said, there's a lot of loneliness in your book. And it's only after I wrote it and started editing myself that I realized that there was a lot of loneliness. And that loneliness was that I had a lack of people around me. I had a lack of people who just simply didn't see Sarah. So Sarah for what Sarah could do for them, not who Sarah is. Now it doesn't matter. If I'm seen, I'm seen. If I'm not, I'm not. I'm no longer lonely. I enjoy being alone.
Mm,
But it took a lifetime
because
journey
you're
to
with your
get
true
there.
self.
I'm with
Yeah.
my true self. And the
Yeah.
people that I attract, like coming on here, are on that journey or have found them true selves. And that means this is the frequency that we're putting out. And I invite people through this festive season, no matter what your religion is, or whether you're religious or not, whether for me, the season is about love and togetherness. It's about us coming together and celebrating each other, being grateful for who we are, that that gift of togetherness, and that joy. And whatever it means to you is how can we bring joy to someone that isn't feeling joyful? How can we show kindness to someone that's feeling unkind about themselves? How can we address that person we know who's alone and tell them, I see you? How can we just bring a
Well,
little fun
I
to
wrote a
someone's
book
heart?
about that.
Exactly, exactly. About bringing that joy. And because when we bring joy to others, it ignites the joy within us, right?
Yes. Yes, it
We
does.
become that joy we're seeking. It's not about finding the joy, it's about becoming the joy. And by doing something for someone else, it brings that
Sarah,
joy about.
about becoming the joy, I would just throw out recognizing that we are the joy. We
Yes,
just have lost
yes,
it somewhere.
yes. Which compartment
And
is it in? Let's switch it on.
yeah, yeah, it's recognizing that, as you've said in this podcast, we have everything we need. We just don't see it. We don't,
No,
just don't
no. And
know.
I say to people, if you want to be reminded of what joy is, go for a walk where you see a puppy dog chasing a stick. You see a kid learning to ride a
Oh,
bike. You see the wind rustling through the trees and the leaves dancing. You see the sunlight bouncing off the leaves. You hear
or
the
like
ocean lapping
Wordsworth wrote
against the
about the
shore.
daffodils dancing in the sun.
Exactly. When we
Yes,
start looking at all the joy that is there all around us, then it's like, well, why am I not finding it? It's there, just switch it on. I think joy is found through service and gratitude. When we give service to others, we find that joy in the giving, and then we're exceedingly grateful for the joy that is always there, ready for us to see.
yeah, I like that.
Yes, it can be sometimes a struggle to follow this inner path and become. I haven't met anybody yet that has said, I wish I hadn't done it. Instead, they've all wished, I wish I started this journey earlier. I
Mm,
wish I hadn't waited so long because it didn't matter, what they were doing or how successful they were. They knew they were in the wrong arena. and they had to follow their heart and soul. And eventually it was either the cosmic 2x4 or the nudge woke them up. And I've got to do this. And, kind of felt like walking up against the wind, but in that discovery of self, discovered who they are, why they're here, what they're here to do. And the heart and soul and spirit were in line with each other. And the mind just
Mm.
kind of, okay, what are we meant to do? Show me heart, soul, and spirit.
Notice what you just said. The mind becomes the instrument of the heart, soul, and
Yes,
spirit. Show me
exactly.
what to do.
Yes, exactly. Instead of thinking before feeling, feel the thoughts. And that's where the clarity is. Thinking will always be yes, but, yes, but, yes, but. The but is for sitting on, right? Stop making excuses.
It reminds me of Shelley when he wrote something like feeling with your thoughts and thinking with your feelings.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
the essence of romanticism.
Yeah.
And I think it's the essence of what I think you're calling soul growth or
Yes.
coming.
Essence of life
It's,
itself is bringing
yes,
something to life. I mean,
right.
what look at life, no matter, look at nature. I'm looking at a naked tree out here right now, but in the spring and all through the summer, it was abundant with leaves. Is it dead? No, right? It's in slumber. And in the spring, it will come back out with those leaves again, and the birds will be back there sheltering and making their nests. Life has a wonderful way of taking us into the various seasons. Let's understand our own seasons. When are we meant to retreat, to regroup, to revive, to renew? And when are we meant to come out and to blossom again? When are we meant to be in full blossom? And when is it okay to start closing things down so we can go back into our, into our replenishment again? We think that we've got to be full speed ahead all the time. No, we're not. Time yourself with the seasons and you will see that you'll go with the flow of life so much more. I don't know
Hmm.
about you, but I'm at, the end of the year. There's a few things I wanted to get done. The anthology book of Raising Our Gifted Children, I wanted out before Christmas. When you are herding authors, it's like herding cats, and it's not happened where I've managed to get everybody on the same timetable. And so what did I have to do? Give up on the idea of Christmas. Right? So, okay, it's obviously a beginning of the year project. And that's okay. It was the same with writing my book. I wrote it over a year ago. It took this long for it to finally come to fruition. And I think that's okay. It's sometimes we push the time where the time pushes back and says, not right now. Pay attention.
That's good to hear. I actually needed to hear that today, so I'm glad you said that. There's a time, there's a place for everything.
Yes. Yes.
Be sensitive to the energy around you.
Exactly. Exactly. Do what, I did a show a few weeks ago about all the balls up in the air, and they're all up there ready to come down. But if they all come down at the same time, I'm not going to be able to catch them. So if it's one
Mm.
ball at a time, deal with what I need to deal with right now, right? And then the next ball and the next ball. And if it means that it's elongated in time, then that's so be it. But, this pressure from society, it's got to be now, got to be now, got to be this, got to be that, got to be last week. No, why? Why? If it's taking longer than I anticipated, maybe the universe has a reason for it. It's not time for it to come together. And when it is time, that means the universal loving wind is behind it. We have to pay
Well
attention.
said, Sarah.
We have to pay attention. I want people through this conversation to know that yes, we can make it hard, or we can look at it as a challenge. And we can meet that challenge because we begin to realize that we have so much more resilience and ability than we ever thought we had. And that when we follow our heart and soul and allow our spirit to take flight, it's going to show us who we are and what we're really here to do. And that we are compelled to do it because we can't do anything else. Nothing else fits. You walked away from a lawyer's career. You stepped into writing. You stepped into music. You stepped into your art because that's your gift to give. It has now won a prize. That means that recognition of that gift is there for all those that read it and relate to it or know that it's a reflection on their own story or somebody else's story they know. That's a gift. Step into the gift. There's many more gifts to come from you, but relish in the gift of how the present that you have shared right now is being unwrapped because it's been received well. So choose our dialogue, right? Is it hard? Is it difficult? Are you suffering? Or is there a challenge in front of you that sometimes you can struggle at, but when you surrender, the flow begins? Allow.
It's lovely talking to you, Sarah.
Always lovely talking to you too. Is there another book coming? Are you in the
Um,
process?
I'm in the process. I'm working on one or two other books. At the moment, the flow isn't necessarily there, but I think it will be soon.
And of course, you've got the whole trilogy here. So just
Yeah.
quickly tell people about the whole trilogy. So how the story folds into each other.
Well, it's one story in 3 volumes. It's quite
Mm,
long. And it's about a young man, a cleric, who embraces these new people that he loves like a brother and a sister, and he comes to a new country that's he's adopted as his own country because where he's from has been this horrible place full of famine and oppression, and he just loves his new life. He's going to lay down his life for his friends, and then his friends betray him.
mm,
So he ends up adopting an evil alignment. And a lot of the trilogy is how do you sort through that when everything you believed in is crashed and burned and you became evil as a result?
mm,
And now regret it because in the scheme of this world, you can't just undo your alignment to evil. And he has to go destroy everything he ever loved in the first place. And there's lots of war and civil
unrest.
civil war, politics, unrest,
A
and
reflection of today.
eventually a reflection of today. And it, art for him does become something of a healing force, not as strong in Maynard, but it's definitely there. And in the last volume, it's more about storytelling and how we create ourselves through the stories we tell each other
Yeah.
and how he works through this. And I'm really proud of the trilogy because at the end, I think all the characters end up where they need to be. And I think
Mm.
it's finally finished ending. Um, so I hope people check it out. There's a lot of information about it online. Um,
How do people find you? How do the people find the books?
they they find my books on Amazon and they find me at KarenMichalson.com, and my website has lots of information about the books. I have a mailing list. If you sign the mailing list, you will actually get a free copy of the first book of the Enemy Glory trilogy. It will be delivered to your inbox. Um, I don't know what else to say. I mean, my
Well, can
website
you
pretty much has
spell
all.
can you spell the site love for those that are listening? Spell your
Okay,
name.
it's Karen Michalson, and Michalson is Michalson. There's no E in it. If you Google the MAENAD'S God, you will probably end up on my website anyway, or on Amazon, where that is for sale. You'll see lots of samples from the book you can read for yourself before you decide whether you want to purchase it. And you can find almost at every online retailer is carrying my books right now. So that's where
And
you can
Maynard's
find
God
me.
is Maenad apostrophe S God, Maynard's God.
Yes. Maenad is the classical Greek myth follower of the god Dionysus. So
Hmm.
followers of Greek mythology will know exactly what it is. But you're correct. It's Maenad apostrophe S. And it's
Christmas is here, folks. I think books are one of the greatest gifts that you can give at Christmas because it's a gift that keeps on giving. It's not just, I enjoyed the book next. It's about, um, how the book forms a conversation. This is why people have book clubs. Everybody shares their opinion. I'm always pushing people to have podcast clubs, listen to the podcast, have a conversation because it's through those conversations and different perspectives that we grow. And so, buy a book for your friends, all your friends, and say, let's have a book club on this. Let's read all of them. Let's take this journey because it's a reflection of our own journey. And, through the readings of these journeys, there's so much that we kind of pick up on ourselves of would I do that? What would I have done differently? Am I doing that in some way? Well, what can I do? And that's when a book really does speak to you because it's kind of is a nudge, nudge wink of itself to there. So Christmas is there, folks. Makes a great gift to sign people up for the book or send the book to them. And then kind of suggest, I'm sending it to so many girlfriends and let's have a book party, whether it's a virtual one because you can't all be together or whether it's in your home. Doesn't matter. Be creative, right? But have a
Right.
conversation. What does it mean to you? Um, Share those open perspectives. No viewpoint is wrong. It's just different. And how can we embrace the difference? Because when we embrace the difference, we realize we have more in common than we do apart. So please reach out to her at her site, which is KarenMichalson.com. There's her blog there. She's on Facebook, Carol Michalson, Goodreads, Karen Michalson, also Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter, all at Carol Michalson. And reach out and tell her how you felt about the book, because it's about that journey. No, it's not always easy, folks, but my God, is it worth taking? Is it worth taking? When you find your meaningful purpose, when you find that something that you get up for every day, no matter how you've slept, and you want to do it, then you know you're on the right path. And that's the kind of joy we want you to step into, the joy of living your own life. Right, Karen?
Right, right, Saren. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast again.
Always,
And I love
always.
this conversation. You always have words of wisdom, and I love hearing them.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing, because you allowed yourself to be vulnerable. And that is a gift in itself, because it means that we can all be vulnerable. No judgment here. Sorry, folks, you're not allowed that. Observation, questioning, you know, um, conferring with each other, but, no judgment. Sorry, we're all on that path of self-discovery. Let's celebrate each other on that path and who we become and what we actually mean to life and this planet, because we are the solution we seek, right?
Right.
Until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tab at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.